politicians, the mudstream media, and a portion of the alternative media have decimated over 250 years of our prosperity, which has been built by our blood, sweat, and tears. It's time to fix what's broken in America. It's time for the enlisted to rise up and get those generals in line and get back here and save our freaking country. Live from the overthrow bunker in FEMA Region 9 in Southern California, I'm your host, Pete Santilli, and you're listening to The Pete Santilli Show.
Welcome to The Pete Santilli Show. The commentary you're about to hear is based on truth and fact and is meant to be used as an educational tool to fight the New World Order, the global elite, and their eugenics agenda. Any characterization made by Mr. Santilli about any person, living or dead, is solely the opinion of Mr. Santilli. Also be advised that the following commentary may have adult content, so parental discretion is strongly advised. So go grab your chips and your Diet Coke and get ready for Pete Santilli. Pete Santilli telling you the truth, whether you like it or not.
That's right. Today, whether you like it or not, you're going to hear some hard-hitting truth from Peter Santilli. Pete Santilli, you are listening to The Pete Santilli Show on this Saturday, February 9th, 2013. And this is episode number 340. Everyone crack a 40, right? Get your OE 800s, 40 ounce, of course, and celebrate episode number 340. Each episode of The Pete Santilli Show is broadcast live on the Guerrilla Media Network daily, Monday through Saturday at 11 a.m. Pacific Time, 1 p.m. Central Time, and 2 p.m. Eastern Time. And, of course, recorded iTunes podcast can be automatically downloaded at www.thepetesantillishow.com. And, of course, I do need to mention that you can get a really good copy of the show at Spreaker.com. Spreaker.com has a 128 kilobit. We're broadcasting live 24/7 on Spreaker.com. We are a radio station on Spreaker.com and literally have acquired, I think we're upwards of 25,000 listeners over on Spreaker.com, which is overwhelming to me because I think we've been there just a little bit over a month. And I always mention this every single day. I'm not, I guess, gloating. Not gloating. Is that the appropriate word? I'm saying that this community is growing. There are like-minded individuals who are joining us. That's what it's about. It has to do with you, the listener. You're not just the only crackpot that's listening to the show, okay? We have almost 105,000 daily downloads of the podcast and, 10,000 hits on YouTube with all the broadcasts we have there. Why is that important to you? Because this community is growing. This show is actually spreading a message that is very, very powerful at a time when we need it most. Now, I have a telephone number that I need to give out. I'm going to be taking your calls throughout the show. I want to, on this, we call it we have a message right now for our active duty military and for our veterans and for our family members of active duty military. And I'm about to unmute. I'm going to bring a gentleman named Phobos, who's calling from South Korea to spread a very important message. Now, Phobos, welcome back to the Pete Santilli Show. How are you?
Thank you. Doing good, Pete. Doing good.
Good. Now, I don't expect you to be as vocal as I was, but I want you to share with me, with our listeners, what we were talking about. I want you to get this message out. I do have a lot of active duty military that listen and their family members as well. So I want you to talk to them.
Okay. Do you want me to take it from the top where we started?
Right from the top, dude. However long it takes for you to get this out. Mm-hmm.
Okay, for a lot of the non-military members out there and people that really don't have much to do with the military, the civs as we call them, or civvies.
Right.
We have about 1.2 million soldiers that are overseas. We're actually in about 107 countries, I believe, as of latest. And the thing is that if we're in a friendly country, Europe or South Korea, those soldiers will be safe if a collapse or if martial law in the United States is actually declared. Now, the problem is with those soldiers that are in the Middle East, in Africa, and in the, not so friendly areas, shall we say. Those soldiers are pretty much going to be left out on their own. Why?
Right.
And if that is cut off, they're basically going to starve. run out of ammo, fuel, everything they need.
In the middle of a war zone.
That's a real possibility. In the middle of a war zone in very extremely hostile territory.
Right.
So the one point I wanted to make to a lot of you service members out there that are listening and ex-service members, National Guard, reservists, Coast Guard, and the four big, follow your NCOs, troops. Follow your NCOs. All right? You took an oath. And this is for all the enlisted I'm talking to. We know what happens to them when they get up above lieutenant colonel. Everyone knows what happens. You turn into a politician as an officer.
That's right.
You need to follow your oath. You need to listen to your NCOs. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, if you're in some hypothetical situation, if you are ever ordered to do anything that is wrong, unconstitutionally, or you know deep down in your gut that is wrong, you do what you have to do to make the situation right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's right. And I want to emphasize this one point, Phobos. Are we getting any feedback? I had to turn my mic level up for you because we had low volume. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you just fine.
Okay, good. I want to emphasize this one point, that we also need to get the help because we have a lot of young guys out there that don't fully understand, because in this generation, the Constitution hasn't been as important for our young troops that are going in 18, 19 years old. We need the family members to also support that message at a time when our country needs our troops the most to defend and support the Constitution of the United States. We need family members also to support those efforts and get that message to your dear family members. We need their service to their country to be against our domestic enemies. Our domestic enemies right now are the biggest enemies on the planet Earth here in the United States. And we need their help, if they're in the military, to be very, very conscious of what the Constitution represents. It protects our God-given rights. It's very simply put. And if you're being asked to fire upon Americans, that is an unconstitutional order. And you stand down to those orders no matter what. And to the death. If anybody gives you those orders, you freaking take that lieutenant colonel on up and you lock him up. He's outnumbered. Right, Phobos?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's right.
That's how it works. It's called checks and balances.
Checks and balances. And that is the best thing that we can tell our troops, our American troops right now. The United States of America represents something very, very powerful. And that's nothing that any general can overpower. Period. And I'm not afraid to say that to any general in the United States. You know what? Phobos, do you think that a Marine Corps general would ever fire upon Americans?
No, I do not believe that.
I don't believe that. And I'm picking out the Marine Corps because
down in my heart,
yeah,
I do not believe that. I find that hard for me. I find it morally repugnant for any officer in the armed forces, reservist, or in any capacity whatsoever, or for that matter, any politician that has ever sworn an oath to defend our nation and everything that it stands for, to even contemplate firing on American civilians, ever. There's not, I don't even know if there's a pit in hell deep enough for a person like that.
Yeah. That's right. They will,
I really don't.
There is a large propaganda campaign that is extending even into the military. Deep within the ranks of the military. I mean, now you were telling me before the break that you believe that the enlisted are awakened to the stuff. You honestly believe that? You do.
I see it every day.
You do?
I see it every day more and more. Oh, yes. I see it every day more and more.
Yeah.
I can't say that I haven't had a hand in it, but yes, it's actually quite refreshing. A lot of them are very keen to what's going on with the gun control issues right now. Most of your soldiers are awake. But see, most civilians don't understand that your average enlisted soldier has a natural mistrust for officers anyway.
That's right.
So that just comes with the turf.
Right.
But they, myself, I talk with them on a regular basis.
Yeah.
I deal with them from all ranks, from the highest to lowest.
If you don't mind, Phobos, I'm sorry to interrupt you. If you don't mind, I want to make sure that we tell our listening audience that you are with one of those alphabet departments. I don't know if you can disclose who you're with, but you're pretty close to the ground on these issues, correct?
I cannot do that.
Well, not which department you're in, but essentially you're working closely or nearby the military, correct?
Oh yes.
Yes.
Oh,
okay.
yes.
I wanted to at least specify that.
Shoulder.
Yeah, and you're in the Korean Peninsula, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
At the current moment, yes.
At the current moment in the Korean Peninsula. So this isn't somebody that's just calling from a bunker in Kentucky.
No. I wish.
That's right. Phobos, this, I believe, now, are you a veteran as well? I assume you are, right?
Yes, sir. Served in Yugoslavia, did tours in Europe. I served in Kosovo, Operation Just Cause, Desert Shield, Desert Storm, Zaire.
Well, thank you for your service to our country, of course.
No thanks needed, sir. Doing what you know, my duty was a self calling.
Yes, sir.
Because I noticed there was something extremely wrong back when I was a teenager, and I wanted to see the world. And well, you know how it goes. You were an ex-Marine, and things just tend to happen, and the time slips by, and before you know it, you've got a whole bunch of pins on your map.
Yeah, that's right.
So
Phobos, let me ask you this: being that you're a war veteran, several wars it looks like, you had served and Marine. All military serve their country very patriotically. We understand what the liberties are, and what the United States is all about. And I believe that we've also had a greater obligation to the rest of the world to make sure that we preserve our so-called democracy. So fighting for freedom for us was to make sure that we preserved our lifestyle and the freedoms by which we thought we were operating under. And over the years, you've seen those dwindle, haven't you? Haven't you seen those freedoms dwindle?
Yes, I have. It's actually, if I may thrash the civilians a little bit.
You may.
The service members that have been overseas over the years, especially the past 11 years, the actual older veterans, the older NCOs, some of your lower or higher enlisted, are actually pretty, well, for a better lack of the word, pissed off because we're over here doing what our country asks. Now, 9/11 set aside. That right now is a moot point. If a fish stinks, you don't eat any of it. That's all I have to say.
Right.
Okay? But the country wanted us to do this. Okay? Now we come overseas thinking that we are doing good, only to turn around and watch the civilians let our country slide into such a sad state of affairs.
Wow.
It's actually, Pete, I came to the realization about 2 years ago that, do you remember when Osama said he will destroy America?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, he's going to do it financially.
Right.
Well, guess what? Yeah, well, we went and did it to ourselves. Not only financially, hell, we ain't even got to worry about the terrorists anymore. We got the politicians up there taking your freedoms.
Yeah, worst form of terrorism.
Surveilling you.
Yeah.
Destroying the dollar. You don't even need people like him running around. He's actually a joke compared to what these people are doing.
You're right. Phobos, listen, I want you to stay with me, okay? Stay with me. I'm going to bring you back after the break, okay? We're going to continue this conversation. Wow, those, just picture that. I don't even know how to describe what he just said. Our service members out there fighting for us for very patriotically, only to have the civilians back here just decimating our country on our own. We'll be back with Phobos right after this message. This is the most powerful Pete Santilli show I think I've ever done.
Live from the Overthrow Bunker and FEMA Region 9, you're listening to The Pete Santilli Show.
A riot.
You know, in this regard, it's not going to be called a riot, okay? We're going to start getting organized, all right? Organized in a way that we have been planning for a couple hundred years. All right? It's not going to be anarchy. It's going to be a very organized restoration, all right? We are a nice, neat, tidy, determined, wealthy country. And I'm joined back with Phobos. And ladies and gentlemen, he is kind enough to really step out there and call me from we'll say the Korean Peninsula, and he has direct exposure to our troops. He's a military war veteran in the United States Army. Phobos, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, it doesn't matter what branch of the service, because you service to our country, service to our country. But I have been talking to Phobos about the message that we need to convey to our active duty military. We already know that this communist in chief, okay, and I you know what? I don't care what anyone says about, oh, well, Pete, you maybe shouldn't say this. They're going to come and get. No. Now is the time for me to say it exactly the way it is. Why? I love my country right now enough. I say I love it enough to stand and fight. I'm standing here on American soil because I have that bit of hope right now in our active duty military and in our law enforcement and in our Constitution, in our history, and in the hearts of the Americans who know the difference, that if all of a sudden they turn away from the NFL show or the NFL game that they're watching, and if they find out that the Constitution's been messed with and that their life has been messed with and they can't get to the drive-thru suddenly, they're going to be pissed off. They'll eventually come along with us. But right now is the most important time that we need to be talking about this message right here. And I'm talking about something that's constitutional, that is lawful. You know what? If the generals say, well, I got to be following orders, you're following the wrong freaking orders from the wrong people. You don't follow the orders of the communists. And do I sound like a tough guy? I am a tough guy. You know why? Because I have 350 million people that would agree with what I'm about to say. What I'm about to say is that these military generals who are beholden to their political scheme of sucking up for their next star, that's not going to serve the American population. That's not going to serve our country. I don't care how smart they are. I don't care how much of a suck up they are. They will have to stand down to our active duty enlisted and those officers that are smart enough to know that if they make the wrong decision, they will not last. That they are outnumbered by not just our active duty military, but 350 million people right now who would agree with everything that I'm saying. We need to save our country now, not next week, not a week from now. We're on the verge of a collapse. And I've been saying this, Phobos. I don't know if you heard my earlier shows. Who's going to be in charge after this collapse? The people are going to be in charge after the collapse, not the politicians, not the generals, right? The people will be in charge, not Ben Bernanke, correct?
Well, yeah. For the most part, you're going to have a Yugoslavian style situation for a little while, a power vacuum, until we can get a constitutional Congress together,
right,
and get it sorted out. It's going to be a rough road.
It is.
It's not going to be, it took us since 1913 to dig ourselves in.
Yeah.
We're definitely not going to get ourselves out in one day.
Not one day.
Okay.
And what you're suggesting, that it may not be peaceful.
What's that?
It may not be a peaceful transition.
It actually, if we have a dollar collapse, Pete, basically what's going to happen is you're going to see law enforcement and military just disappear, because they're going to go home to protect their family. People have no comprehension of what's going to happen if the dollar collapses, or either by the enormous debt or by design.
Mm-hmm.
People have to remember that a service member is just a person. He's got a family.
He's a human being.
And they're going to go home. They're
Right.
not going to get fed at base. There probably won't be any power on the base. No, there won't be anything there for them. They're going to be homesick. They're going to be worried about their parents,
Right.
their kids, their wives. They're gonna boogie.
Right.
They are. They're going to Dee Mao and get home.
Dee
And
Mao.
It's going to disintegrate. Yep, Dee Mao.
That's right, Dee Mao.
And the problem with that is that then you're going to have the initial die-off in the first year, and then you're going to have a Yugoslavia situation for maybe another year. But within 3 to 5 years, we should be back on our feet.
Mm-hmm.
They've kept us so divided on just on everything. And they even took the divisions and divided those again. That it's hard to get people to actually look at one goal and focus on it.
Right. And this is why this is why I believe that the timing of my message, while we can get this message out, is very important, because our lines of communication are going to be shut down. We need to, as quickly as possible, resonate this message to all of our family members. We need to share this show with as many people as possible. I don't care if you're sharing it with a liberal Democrat, a gun enthusiast, or a gun controller. It doesn't matter. This message needs to get to as many people as possible, as quickly as possible. Why? Because eventually that communication line is going to be shut down, and people are going to have to think on their own, and they need to be thinking the right thoughts. It's going to be absolute chaos. It will be. I mean, if it comes tomorrow, it's going to be chaotic. If it comes 2 years from now, those are more days that we have to prepare with this message.
Yes, it does.
But
now,
we're not.
All you people that live in the southern belt of the country, right? Be prepared for a massive influx of refugees as the winter sets in any of these situations, because they're going to come from. I mean, everything's going to be cut off up north.
Right.
They're not going to have heat.
Right.
And they're going to flood south.
Right.
By the millions, tens of millions.
Right.
So, that's a whole lot of situations. I mean, you being ex-military, me, in my situation, we always have to look at contingencies.
Right.
We have to plan for the worst and hope for the best.
Right.
So, that's basically how I see the situation boiling down.
Yeah. Now, another thing we must consider is that we have a Department of Homeland Security right now that is poised to turn on the American people for continuity of government justification. They want to continue, operating the government. That's their mantra. That's their goal. They believe that collapse is coming. I don't think that we can make it that long. Do you see that we're going to be making it for any period of time longer than, it's hard to predict, but.
Well, it's all a matter of the way that they have the system propped up. They're going to run it until we're over the cliff.
Right.
They're going to stay behind the wheel of the car until it hits the bottom of the chasm.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And as soon as it hits the bottom of the chasm, they're going to disappear.
Right.
One way or the other. Now, the DHS and FEMA and all these other alphabet soup organizations that are on their little power trips now, you're going to see them evaporate.
Right.
They're not going to be there.
Right.
There is no way that any of these organizations, I tell you what, Pete, you can take the entire might of the American military, bring in the Mexican Army and the Canadian Army and all these little alphabet things and local law enforcement, you could not keep America under martial law. It's too big.
Right.
It's too big.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of they're pipe dreaming.
Yeah.
Okay. They're just hoping for the best that will never happen.
Right.
Okay. Because all that stuff, all forms of organization are going to just disappear. Everything.
They are. And that's the message that I want to also, I want to convey this to, because I've been talking to, we're talking to active duty military. The veterans know what's going on. The veterans know what we're going to have to do to step up. I think the veterans are very keenly aware of what's going on. We need our law enforcement. We also need the thunderheads, over at FEMA. I'm holding in my hand. It's, I think a 200 and something page document. All right. That I was literally personally involved in writing, from Rex 84 to our FEMA manuals. And this one is the Federal Continuity Directive, FCD1. Okay. Federal Executive Branch National Continuity Program and Requirements. They have been setting up for the past 30 years of planning for what's about to take place. And our Department of Homeland Security and FEMA right now are set up. All they exist for, all they care about is to make sure that the government still operates no matter what happens. They have contingency plans to where if an area is completely nuked out and everybody's gone, they've got step-by-step procedures for how to backfill these positions. That's all they care about is their existence. Now, we need those people as well to be keenly aware of how we can take care of our own communities. We really can. I think we can take care of ourselves, don't you?
Oh, yeah, I really do. To all you, I know they're listening in, so, to all you NSA and, all these other little organizations, you have to remember you're only human too. What about your family?
That's right. Yeah.
What about your kids? Well, what about the future? Because if we won't have one, you won't have one. I promise you that.
Mm-hmm.
I will personally make sure a few of you don't.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
That's for sure.
They need to consider which side they're on. Mm-hmm.
That's right. And, I find it very interesting on a little, just to reinforce something a little here. The 9/11 and Sandy Hook and all these other incidents that have happened. Hell, we can go all the way back to Pearl Harbor.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we can go further than that. Maine.
Right.
Okay,
mm-hmm.
We can go further than that. Okay. Now, I respect the people, the truther movements that are going after these things, but my message to you is it doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't matter. It's JFK, as I call it. You're never going to know. We know it stinks. We know it's rotten.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to know anymore because they've covered it in so many layers of lies. The people that were probably originally involved have been liquidated years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
That's right.
You will never, they're diverting your focus.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? You will not be researching this stuff from inside a FEMA camp. Can I put it that way?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's the deal. You won't be researching this stuff when you're trying to scrounge up food because you don't have any money.
Yeah.
Okay, we can talk about all this stuff after we take the trash out.
That's right. You're absolutely right. Now, you remember when the Soviet Union collapsed, right?
Yes.
When the Soviet Union collapsed, that's probably the best historical reference within our recent past. When the Soviet Union collapsed, their entire system collapsed. Their military personnel were offered as compensation. Cases of vodka were the currency at the time. They had no money flowing, and they offered as a currency cases of vodka to keep the military in check until they could get the system reformulated. So we are going to see that type of, the money flow will stop. Just like you said, supply lines will stop to our troops spread throughout the world. We need to think of how we're going to react in those situations. What are we going to do? Even as a matter of our military thinking about how to get enough fuel into a plane to get themselves back here. Right?
Yeah. That's an issue. Yes.
Yeah. We have to start thinking about that stuff. And obviously they know how to commandeer enough fuel within their local environment. You need to start thinking about this stuff because the time may come soon. And we need to take care of ourselves. These people that are running the Obama administration are our domestic enemies. And I'm not afraid to say that. I'm going to say this right now while I can. Every single moment on the air, and Phobos, you're joining me in this very courageously. Thank you very much. While we can speak to the people that are listening here, we need to know what's happened to our country. Our country has been hijacked. Phobos, do you believe that these people are communists?
Pete, to me, scum like that, I don't even worry if they are or aren't. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Their action speaks for it. If communist, Marxist,
whatever.
God, who cares? It's not American. That's all I need to know. It's not the America that I grew up in. It's not the America it's supposed to be. And a lot of people have forgotten who you are. Go to the trunk of your car, get your little ball sack out of there and put them on. You're an American. You're not, people died for you so you can have these privileges. Okay, so you can live better. So you can have these God-given rights. Quit being these pansies, emasculated males running around.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
This is Mr. E, and you're listening to the Pete Santilli Show. Telling you the truth, whether you like it or not.
State of fear. Humanity. But Pete Santilli pointing at you to do something. That's right. We need to know what to do, okay? Now listen, I'm on the phone right now. This is an important conversation. Why? Because you know what? I absolutely 1,000% agree with the perspective of Phobos, okay? Because we're talking to our military, active duty military, all right? We are talking to our veterans. We are talking also in front of the American public, the civvies, who at this point in time are listening to us talk about doom and gloom. And I absolutely agree that we are in for a tough transition. Number one, just by the mere shock of what will happen, and it'll happen instantly. It's not going to be an incremental thing. What has gotten us here has been incremental, but it's been incrementally bubbled up. And it's a bubble that when it collapses, everyone will be so suddenly shocked. And that shock alone will take some time to get through. Now, how do I know this? Because I saw in the mid-'80s the planning that was taking place, the dollar collapse, okay, and transitioning from trading oil on a different currency other than the dollar would throw us into a deep, dark depression. And then the eventuality of a banking system collapse, all that stuff, people will start going hungry, the system will shut down, and it's going to take us time to recover. We've been planning for this since the mid-'80s. I was personally involved in that planning. I know that this will happen. It will definitely happen. So you're speaking of reality. Now, we have to prepare for this now as a society. We need to get ready for this. We need to, as quickly as possible, restore law and order. This is the message I want to convey to everybody in this segment, Phobos, is that there's light on the other side. But we need to be prepared for that transitional period. Don't you agree?
Oh, yes. I mean, there's definitely a light. You have to support your local sheriffs.
Right.
You need to make sure that if they're not on board with their oath, that you vote them out. Remember, you vote that sheriff in. And the next time that he comes around, you make sure you take him out for a pro-Second Amendment.
Mm-hmm.
A pro-constitutional sheriff. All of your local politicians.
Mm-hmm.
You need to make them sign affidavits to their campaign promises. You have to do these things. Our earlier generations, and I can go all the way back to Jefferson and Jackson and the famous last words, I killed the banks. We can go all the way back to that. But you want to know why it succeeded? Because they were involved. They kept abreast of what was going on, and they didn't tolerate shenanigans.
No.
They didn't tolerate it. They were highly critical of a large government, and rightfully so.
Yeah. Hold on one second. I want
everyone
Phobos.
out there.
Phobos, this is what I want to do. Just hold that thought, okay? I want to take a couple telephone calls because some people are calling in. call in to 218-862-9829. I'm going to take this caller in the 613 area code. What is your first name? You're live on the Pete Santilli Show with Phobos out of South Korea.
Hi, Peter. It's Dizan. How are you doing?
Who's this?
It's Daryl. How are you doing?
Hey, Daryl, what's going on? I'm doing great. Thank you for calling in so much. This is probably a very timely and important call. Thank you so much for calling in.
Well, I just want to reassure you that we're not going to let it go that far.
You don't think so?
Well, they've got the plans out. Everything is ready, but we're not going to let them carry it through.
Well, Daryl, and I'm not challenging you. This is what I'm disappointed. I cannot believe that we've let it get this far. How have we let it get this far? But let's look at from 2008. We could have fixed things in 2008, 2009. We didn't allow that. We literally extracted, since then, trillions of dollars out of the United States of America. We shipped it overseas. So we've done that. We've hurt ourselves in that capacity. Don't you agree?
Well, that's absolutely right. But you can take it back.
Do you think we can?
I know you can.
Okay. I've always heard you mention very positively of the things that have been going on behind the scenes. When is this going to be implemented?
Well, we can start as early as next week if you want.
Oh, I want. That's what I want.
Well, your listeners are going to have to get up and get involved. Get involved in the communities. Get involved in the militias. Suzanne Polzo had some very good, or a very good article in discussion on the police forces, which are nothing more than hired security guards.
They are. Mm-hmm.
But there's nothing saying that they can't swear allegiance to the Constitution and be put back in that police capacity.
So let's talk about action that we can all take immediately, because it could be a peaceful transition. It could be. I mean, that's pie in the sky. But the longer we go, the lesser likely of that eventuality happening. I mean, for us to be have a peaceful transition. That is. I'm sorry, I'm stumbling here. I'm looking at my screen. But Daryl, what are the action steps that each listener right now can take? Right now, if they get up on Monday morning and start doing stuff, what can they do?
Well, get involved in your community. Start talking to people. Make them aware of what's going on, what the plans are, how they want to overthrow and manipulate the citizens once again. So just get involved and educate your neighbor.
In your local community, yeah.
And you start at your local community, talk to your sheriff, find out what's going on, get involved in the politics.
Mm-hmm. The local politicians, okay, or local city councils, they're essentially they run the infrastructure. We will be the ones that will be left to our own devices once the system shuts down. How are we going to operate, right?
Pete,
right.
We run the infrastructure.
Right.
They represent us, and they have to be reminded of that.
Mm-hmm.
So hold their feet to the fire.
I agree. So I've been talking about, and I think you've been listening to the show, talking about contacting our sheriff. Now's the time to do it. Not wait until Tuesday, like Monday. Pick up the phone and contact your sheriff. Find out where he stands and put him on notice that if he's unconstitutional, he's going to be removed, period.
He's going to be fired. That's right.
He's going to be fired. He's going to be removed. He will not stand through this transition, period.
No, you have a constitution. You have a tool.
Right.
That is there for you guys to use.
Right.
Uphold it and
Right.
make them uphold it.
Right. I'm wondering if I could, I'm thinking through this, if I go to my local sheriff's department and leave either flyers or materials for our local sheriffs, for the sheriff's deputies, to remember their oath to the Constitution, even bringing oath keeper, written material to them. That may be a step that I may be able to take.
I think that's a very good idea. And the more people get involved and go down and visit them, they're going to get the message, aren't they?
Yeah, the individual deputies need to know, regardless of the sheriff that holds the elected position over them. The individual sheriffs can serve their local community by saying, you know what, screw that guy. We're not going to be firing upon our citizens. We are going to uphold. We're not going to allow the Fed to come in and start running the joint. And it's time for us to educate even down to the deputy level.
Well, that's right. And you've had some very good speakers on. You've had sheriffs on talking about this.
Right.
And so the message is getting out. People are becoming aware, and they are getting involved.
That's
You're
right.
going to have to do it.
Right.
More people are going to have to stand up.
Yeah, and I'm not talking about promotion of a show, but yes, I am talking about promotion of a show, because the Pete Santilli Show is one of the few shows right now that is just outwardly talking about the most important issues of our time. right now. Other people are afraid of it, but we need to direct people to shows and media that are outwardly talking about an organized, constitutional, structured restoration, right, of our society. That's what we talk about. And you need to encourage people to gather together in a community like this, right?
Exactly, Pete. Exactly.
Okay, good. Thank you for calling in, Daryl.
No problem.
All right,
Bye-bye.
Phobos, these are positive steps that we can take starting on, I say, Monday. Okay, on Sunday, okay, that's tomorrow, in your churches. You have a community of people. They're not violent people, right? They want what's best for our local communities. Everyone needs to start talking in their churches about what they need to do to come together as a community to take care of business so that we can transition away from this thing that's coming at us.
Yes, that's the only way that we can really avoid it is by doing that.
Right.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
You know, I hate to be the doom and gloomer, but, you know, the military teaches you plan for the worst, hope for the best.
No, I know with 100% certainty, it's not going to be pretty initially. I mean, even if we were very organized to catch it at the other side, we would go through a 72-hour period. It's called a WTF moment. Like, what just happened? There's a lot of people that are going to say, I can't get my money. The ATM doesn't work at the Taco Bell. You know, they're going to be stunned by that.
Yep.
You know,
and they need, you know, we need to, as American citizens, we need to stop settling for second best as to who represents us.
Mm-hmm.
You hear that at every election, the lesser of two evils. Why are we even talking about the lesser of two evils during an election?
Yep. Listen.
Okay, it should never be like that.
Listen, I'm gonna finish up here with our segment, and Phobos, thank you very much, and I want you to stay in contact with me. Okay, that this is a powerful, powerful
I definitely
hour.
will, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. Send me your contact info to Pete@thePeteSantilliShow.com, and